Sorry.
Good afternoon. Probate Court number 2 is now in session. Honorable Pamela Medina presiding.
Good afternoon, everyone. Trying to pull up my documents. I don't have, they're in order, but they're not in this view. Is that correct?
Is that your
Yeah, I put hearing signatures or judges hearing. Second one. Judges. Oh, here it is. Got it, thanks. Okay, I call cause number 510791 in the estate of Rodolfo Agustin Herrera Sr.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good
I'm Sherry Glover.
afternoon. Hi, Ms. Glover. And what's that? Fine. Oh, I'm on our video. Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Glover, I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, my name is Sherry Glover, and I'm personally acquainted with the facts herein. Rodolfo Agustin Herrera Sr. died on August 13th, 2022, here in Harris County, Texas. At the time of his death, he was 86 years of age and 4 years have not elapsed. This court has jurisdiction to hear this matter in that the decedent was domiciled in and had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County at the time of his death. Currently reviewing his will, which was signed in my office on August 1st, 2005, the original of which is in the court's possession. I would ask the court to take judicial notice of the original will being filed.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you, Judge. There is a necessity to administer the decedent's estate. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Herrera never revoked this will. There is no state, governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization named in the will as a devotee. After the date of the will, there were no children born to or adopted by the decedent, and he was not divorced after the date of the will. The will named his wife, Carolyn Bloodworth Herrera, to serve as independent executrix. However, she predeceased the decedent. The will next names his daughters, Melody Herrera Cook and Mindy H. Galvan, to serve as independent co-executrices. However, Ms. Galvan does not wish to serve in that capacity. She has signed a waiver and a disclaimer in that regard. To the best of my knowledge, Melody Herrera Cook is qualified to serve as the independent executrix. There's no reason that she would be disqualified. And Your Honor, this is a small estate and we'd ask that the appraisers be waived.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Glover. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Rodolfo Agustin Herrera Sr. dated August 1st, 2005 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Melody Herrera Cook was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Melody Herrera Cook is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. I will sign this. And all right, Ms. Glover, unless you have anything, you do have something else.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, I call cause number 510713 in the estate of Mary Jane Duffy. Okay,
Yes, Your
Ms.
Honor.
Glover, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, once again, my name is Sherry Glover. I'm personally acquainted with the facts herein. Mary Jane Duffy, the decedent, died on July 10th, 2022 in LaPorte, Harris County, Texas. At the time of her death, she was 75 years of age and 4 years have not elapsed. This court has jurisdiction to hear this matter in that Miss Duffy was domiciled in and had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County at the time of her death. currently reviewing her will, which was executed in my office on November 5th, 2020. To the best of my knowledge, she never revoked that will. The original of this will is in the possession of the court, and I would ask the court to take judicial notice of the original will being filed.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, there is a necessity to administer this estate. There is no state, governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization named as devizee in the will. After the date of the will, there was no child born to or adopted by Miss Duffy, and no marriage was ever dissolved after the will was made. The will names her daughter, Laura Lee Pope, to serve as independent executrix, to act independently without bond. To the best of my knowledge, Miss Pope is qualified to serve in that capacity. There's no reason that she's disqualified. And Your Honor, this is a small estate, and we'd ask that the appraisers be waived.
Okay, thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Mary Jane Duffy, dated November 5th, 2020, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Laura Lee Pope was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Laura Lee Pope is appointed an independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. And I'll sign that document now. Okay. I will sign it once it comes up. It's not allowing me to actually sign.
Okay, Your Honor, no problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ms. Glover. Is that all?
That's all I have. It was a pleasure to meet you. I'm sorry it's on Zoom, but I'll see you in person someday.
Definitely. Thank you, Ms. Glover.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. You're excused.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I call cause number 510834 in the estate of Harry L. Little, aka Harry Lee Little, aka Harry Little. Ms. Boats, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Are you giving testimony?
I am going to give testimony.
Okay, let me swear you in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm Stephanie Mudgett Boats. I'm familiar with the facts and the circumstances of the death of the decedent. I knew him personally. Harry Little passed away on October 7th, 2022 at the age of 80. He was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Harris County, Texas on the date of his death. Mr. Little left a valid self-proven will dated August 22nd, 2009. And I ask that you please take judicial notice of the will on file.
The court takes judicial notice of the will on file. Thank you.
Thank you. As far as I know and believe, the will was never revoked by Mr. Little. No children were ever born to or adopted by him. And he was not married on the date of his death. No state, governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization is named in the will. The decedent's will named his brother, John Little, as the independent executor to serve independently and without bond. As far as I know and believe, John Little is not disqualified by law from serving or accepting letters testamentary. There is a necessity for the administration of the estate, and the estate is not taxable, so we request the appointment of appraisers be waived.
Thank you, Ms. Boats. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Harry L. Little, dated August 22nd, 2009, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that John Little was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and John Little is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. And I'll sign the document.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're very welcome, and you are excused, Ms. Boats. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
You too. I don't know why. I call cause number 510902 in the state of John Charles Besant, on application of probate of will with letters testamentary. Mr. Montalbano, are you ready to proceed?
I'm present. My client and witness, Ms. Doris, is present. And go ahead and unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Now you're good.
Thank you. If you please raise your right hand, Ms. Doris, and I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you so much. Mr. Montalbano, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Doris, would you please state your name for the court fully?
Ann D. Doris.
And how did you know the decedent, John Charles Besant?
I first met John in 1977 when we were both hired to work at the same aerospace company in the Clear Lake area.
Okay.
At the time, we were married to other people, but in the 90s, we both got divorced and we lived in the same neighborhood. We worked at the same company. We just became good friends, and living alone, we just did things for each other and traveled together and
Yes,
ate
ma'am.
out together.
Did Mr. Besant pass away on or about October 27th, 2022 in Houston, Harris County, Texas?
Yes,
Was he aged 80 and residing in Houston at and before the time of his death?
yes,
And we filed a document that is dated March 7th, 2018 that purports to be his last will. Judge, we ask that the court take judicial notice of the will that is on file as being the original.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Ms. Doris, to your knowledge, did Mr. Besant, it's true he did not revoke his will prior to the time of his death, correct?
correct. Yes,
Is it true that no child or children were born to or adopted by him prior to his death and after the execution of his will?
yes,
At the time that he executed this will, was he of sound mind and over the age of 18?
yes,
Is it true that Mr. Besant had no marriage that was dissolved by death or divorce after the time the will was made? Is that correct?
yes,
And is it true that 4 years have not elapsed between the time of his death and the time that we filed the will for probate, correct?
correct.
Is it true that the will does not name the state of Texas or any charitable beneficiary as a devisee thereunder?
Yes,
Is it true that a necessity for the administration of Mr. Besant's estate exists?
yes,
And does a will name you to be appointed as the independent executor of his estate?
yes,
And is it true that you're not disqualified from serving in such capacity?
yes,
Your Honor, we ask that the will be admitted to probate. It is a non-taxable estate, and then it waivers that appraisers be waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of John Charles Besant dated March 7th, 2018 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Ann D. Doris was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Ann D. Doris is appointed to serve as independent executor without bond, and the court waives the necessity of fees. Thank you, Ms. Doris, for your time. It sounds like you had a really wonderful friendship, and I'm sorry for your loss.
thank you.
You're welcome. And I will sign the order presently. Thank you, Mr. Montalbano. You may be excused.
Thank you, Judge. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I call cause number 510925 in the estate of Charles D. Ivy on application of probate of wills with letters testamentary. Ms. Ostrom, are you ready to proceed?
Hi, Judge. I'm Rosemary Sullivan. I'm the lawyer appearing for Ms. Ostrom.
Wonderful.
And the applicant and my client are here, Mara Connor. I see her on the screen. Mara, if you can just unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. You solemnly swear that, oh, I'm sorry, would you raise your right hand? Would you
Yes, ma'am.
solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I do.
Ms. Sullivan, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Would you state your name for the court, please?
Mara M. Connor.
And you are the stepdaughter of the decedent Charles D. Ivy, correct?
Correct.
And Charles passed away on October 13th, 2022 at Houston, Harris County, Texas, and 4 years have not elapsed since his death, correct?
Correct.
At the time of his death, Charles was 83 years old and residing in Houston, Harris County, Texas, correct?
Yes.
You have in front of you a document entitled The Last Will and Testament of Charles D. Ivy. It's dated February the 3rd, 2001, and signed by Mr. Ivy on pages 6 and 7, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize that as his signature on pages 6 and 7?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize this document as a copy of the original will that you gave to my office to file with the court in this matter?
Correct.
And Judge, I'd ask that you take judicial notice that the original is in fact on file.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original on file.
Thank you. No children were born to or adopted by Charles after he executed this will, correct?
Correct.
And to your knowledge, he never revoked this will,
Correct.
and no marriage of his was dissolved, whether by divorce, annulment, or other means after the date of this will, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
This will does name one charity, correct? The Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, but only if none of the individuals named in the will survived Mr. Ivy, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are the second named individual in the will, and you obviously survived Mr. Ivy, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And other than that charity, there are no other charities, and neither the state of Texas or an agency of the state of Texas is named as a beneficiary under the will, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a correct statement?
Yes, correct.
And a necessity does exist for the administration of this estate, correct?
Yes.
And Charles's will named your mother, Dora Ivy, as the independent executor, but your mother predeceased Mr. Ivy, correct?
Yes.
She passed away on August 31st, 2014.
Yes.
And the will names you to serve as independent executor if your mother was not able to do so, correct?
Yes.
And you are not disqualified from serving, correct?
Correct.
And you're asking the court to appoint you as independent executor and that letters testamentary be issued to you, correct?
Yes.
Judge, this is a non-taxable estate, and we would ask that appraisers be waived, and I pass the witness.
Thank you. The court also takes judicial notice of the original will on file. I'm sorry if I did that already. I just can't recall. And after hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Charles D. Ivy dated February 3rd, 2001 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Mara M. Connor was named in the will to serve as independent executrix. The will is admitted to probate, and Mara R. M. Connor is appointed independent executrix to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers.
Thank you,
And
Judge.
oh, you're welcome. I'll sign the order. And Ms. Sullivan, if Ms. Connor, I'm so sorry for your loss of your friend. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. That is signed. And Ms. Sullivan, if you have nothing further, you and your witness are excused.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I call cause number 510955 in the estate of Patrick Porter on application of probate of wills with letters testamentary. Mr. Heffenfinger, are you ready to proceed?
Your Honor. We're ready to proceed.
Okay. Thank you. And you're okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me God. You God.
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Heffelfinger.
Would you please state your full name for the court?
Carol Catherine Porter.
And what was your relationship to Patrick C. Porter?
I was his wife for 50 years.
And is it correct that Patrick died on October 13th of 2022 in Harris County, Texas at the age of 75?
Yes,
And at the time of death, he was domiciled with fixed place of residence here in Harris County. Is that correct?
yes,
Now you have in front of you a copy of a document dated December 11th, 2012. Can you identify that as a true and correct copy of your husband's last will and testament?
yes, I can.
Your Honor, we ask the court to take judicial notice that the document in the court's possession is an original will.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Did Mr. Porter ever revoke this will?
No,
Were there any children born to or adopted by him after the date of the will?
no,
Was any marriage of his ever dissolved after the date of the will?
no,
Does the will make a gift to any state, governmental agency, or charitable organization?
no,
Now, the will names you to serve as independent executor without bond. Is that correct?
yes,
And is there any reason you'd be disqualified from serving in this capacity?
no,
And this is going to be a non-taxable estate, so there's no necessity for the appointment of appraisers. Is that correct?
correct.
We have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Patrick C. Porter dated December 11th, 2012 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Carol C. Porter was named in the will to serve as independent executrix. The will is admitted to probate, and Carol C. Porter is appointed independent executrix to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Thank you, Ms. Porter, and I'm so sorry for the loss of your husband. Thank you for your time. You're welcome. Mr. Helfenberger, is that all that you have today?
That's all we have today, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you so much. You may be excused.
Thank you.
Bless you. I call cause number 510983 in the estate of Dolores M. Koval on application of probate of will, non-producible in court. Mr. Stiles, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor, and everybody is here with me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you very well. Hi. Hi.
Okay. After that
Thank
last
you.
one, I was gonna, can you say something in the back, Carol, just to make sure we can hear you back there?
Hello, Judge.
Can you hear
I
everybody?
can hear you perfectly. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm worried that the distance might be a problem.
Do you, I'll need to swear in the witnesses. If you all will raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Stiles.
Let's start with Carol Brady. Would you state your name for the court, please?
Carol Brady?
Now, Dolores Koval died September 28th, 22 in Houston at the age of 77, correct?
Yes,
And Dolores was domiciled and had her fixed place of residence here in Harris County at the time of her passing, correct?
yes,
And she was your, well, sister-in-law and good friend, right?
yes.
And you knew her for, I think you were saying like 55 years?
Over 55 years.
And during those 55 years, is it safe to say that you were close to her and familiar with her signature?
Oh, yes, many, many Christmas cards and birthday cards.
And you've reviewed the will that's been filed with the court dated March 5th, 2012, correct?
Yes,
Judge, can you pull that up for to page 10? Are you able to do that for us?
I don't know, Mr. Stiles. I'm having a bit of technical difficulties. I was screen sharing earlier, but I was told that nothing was actually sharing.
Oh.
If you would prefer to do it, it may work out a bit better.
Yeah, I don't know that I can do it from here. I probably can, but I might need a second to get it up. Can we use the copy? Can we use a hard copy? Is that going to be sufficient or not? Do we need to have the screen shared?
Let me see. You work on it. I'll work on it. We'll see if it works.
Okay. You want me? I'm gonna put you on mute.
You know where it is? Okay, we're gonna try here.
That looks good.
You mean to move the screen over?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
We can see it, Judge. That's perfect.
yeah.
Wonderful.
You're way more high tech than I am, Judge. Thank you.
Actually, my clerk is.
Even better. So
Thank
right
you.
now, the judge is showing you on the screen, page 10 of the will, which contains a signature. Do you recognize that to be Dolores's signature?
Yeah, sure is.
Great. And at the time she would have done that back in 2012, she was over the age of 18 and of sound mind, correct?
Yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, she never revoked that will, correct?
yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Hang on to that. We'll need it here in a second.
Okay, we'll keep
Do you
it
want
up.
me to go ahead and start with my second witness?
Yes, you may proceed.
Would you state your name, Charles?
Yes, Charles Patrick Brady.
Dolores Kowal died September 28th of 2022 in Houston at the age of 77, correct?
Correct.
And she had her domicile and fixed place of residence in Harris County when she passed, correct?
Yes,
And that was just your wife we heard from. So this is your sister-in-law as well, right? That Dolores is?
yes,
And while you didn't know her 55 years, easy 40 plus, right? That you knew her and you would consider her a friend that you were close to.
yes,
And during that time, did you become familiar with her signature as part of your friendship and Christmas cards and all that goes with that?
yes,
On the screen right now, page 10 is is page 10 of the will that she signed March 5th, 2012, or which purportedly she signed March 5th, 2012. Do you recognize that as her signature there on page 10?
yes,
And at the time that she signed the will, she was over the age of 18 and of sound mind, correct?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, this will was never revoked, correct?
yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor, for that witness.
Thank you.
May I proceed with my last witness, Your Honor?
I'm sorry. Yes, I only had two written down. So
Yeah, well, we've got the applicant here. We'll go ahead and go forward. So would you state your name for the court, please?
John James Koval.
And Dolores Koval died September 28th of last year in Houston at the age of 77, correct?
Yes,
And she was your mother, correct?
yes.
Oh, it was a girl.
Are you hearing everything okay, Your Honor?
yes,
Okay, great. Your mother was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Harris County at the time of her passing, correct?
Yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, a document dated March 5th, 2012, of which the signature page we're looking at on the screen, which purports to be your mother's will, was never revoked, correct?
true.
Your Honor, I ask that you take judicial notice of the original copy that's on file with the court.
thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the copy that's on file with the court.
And no child or children were born to your or adopted by your mother after she did her will, correct?
True.
And she never got married or divorced after she did the will, correct?
No,
Correct, she did not?
right.
Yes. And then a necessity exists for the administration of this estate, and 4 years have not passed between the passing of your mother and the filing of the application for probate of her will, correct?
Yes,
And your mother's will names you to serve without bond or other security as independent executor, correct?
yes,
And you are not disqualified by law from serving as independent executor or from accepting letters testamentary, correct?
no, yes,
Correct.
correct.
The double negative questions can be confusing, but and no state or governmental agency of the state or charity is named in your mother's will, correct? Is that a correct statement?
Yes,
That's all I have, Your Honor. This is a non-taxable estate, and we ask that appraisers be waived.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Stiles. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Dolores M. Koval constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Mr. John James Koval was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and John James Koval is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Mr.
Your
and
Honor.
Mrs. Brady, and sorry for your loss as well, Mr. Koval. Thank you for your time today, and sorry for your loss.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Mr. Stiles, I'll sign the document order right now.
Okay, thanks, Your Honor. Appreciate it very
Thank
much.
you. You may be excused.
Ready, thank you.
Bye. I call cause number 511082 in the estate of Ronald Kemp Stovall. on application of probate of wills with letters testamentary. Mr. Bauman, are you ready to proceed?
I am. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Will you be giving testimony?
I will.
Thank you. Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
My name is Matthew Boffman. I represent the applicant in this matter, Nancy C. Stobaugh. Ronald Kent Stobaugh died in Harris County, Texas on November 4th, 2022 at the age of 80 years. 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. Mr. Stobaugh was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Harris County on the date of his death. The document dated March 2nd, 2007, which has been offered for probate, is the will of Ronald Kent Stobaugh. And the document dated July 22nd, 2014, also been offered for probate as the first codicil to the will. So far as I know, neither the will nor the first codicil were ever revoked by him. I'd ask that the court take judicial notice that the original of those instruments are on file.
Yes, the court takes judicial notice of both the will and the codicil on file. Thank you.
Thank you. No child or children were born to or adopted by Mr. Stobaugh after the date of the will. No marriage of Mr. Stobaugh was dissolved after the date of the will. A necessity exists for the administration of this estate. The will names Mr. Stobaugh's wife, Nancy C. Stobaugh, as independent executor to serve without bond. Nancy C. Stobaugh is not disqualified by law from accepting letters testamentary or from serving as independent executor and is entitled to such letters. The will does not name the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state of Texas, or a charitable organization as a beneficiary. And Your Honor, I request that the appointment of appraisers be waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Ronald Kent Stobaugh the will and codicil dated March 2nd, 2007, and codicil dated July 22nd, 2014 constitute a valid will and codicil. Further, the court finds that Nancy C. Stobaugh was named to serve as independent executor, and the will and codicil are admitted to probate, and Nancy C. Stobaugh is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court weighs the necessity of appraisers. And I will sign that order. Thank you, Mr. Bauman. You may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. I call cause number 510900 in the state of Stephen Glenn Jenkins on application of probate of wills with letters testamentary. Mr. Walker, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, we are ready. Miss Diane Jenkins is here with me this afternoon.
Thank you. And Ms. Jenkins, would you please raise your right hand and I will swear you in? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Miss Jenkins. Will you state your name for the record?
Diane Goodson Jenkins.
Thank you, Miss Jenkins. You were married to Stephen Glenn Jenkins, is that correct?
Yes,
And were you married to him at the time of his death?
I was.
Did he pass away on May 11, 2021 in Galena Park, Texas?
He did.
And at the time of his passing, he was 69 years old and had a fixed place of residence and domicile in Harris County. Is that right?
Yes,
And 4 years have not elapsed since the date he passed away, has it?
correct.
Did Mr. Jenkins left a will, is that correct?
Yes,
And the will that we filed with the court dated May 4th, 2021. You've seen that will. My question is, did Stephen Jenkins ever revoke that will?
no, he did not.
And Your Honor, we ask the court take judicial notice of the original of the will on file with the court.
The court takes judicial notice of the original on file.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Jenkins, did Stephen, was there any child born to or adopted by Stephen after the date of the will?
No,
Did he marry anyone or have any marriage dissolved after the date of the will?
no,
Does the will name you, Diane Goodson Jenkins, to serve as independent executor of his estate without bond?
yes, it does.
And are you qualified to serve in that capacity?
Yes,
And are you not disqualified from accepting letters in this case?
No, I'm not.
And is there any state governmental agency or charitable organization named as a beneficiary or devisee of the will?
No.
Your Honor, this is a non-taxable estate. We ask that the court appoint Miss Diane Goodson Jenkins to serve as independent executor without bond, and that the court waive the necessity of any appraisers.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Stephen Glenn Jenkins constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Diane Goodson Jenkins was named in the will to serve as independent executrix. The will is admitted to probate, and Diane Goodson Jenkins is appointed independent executrix to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Find that. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Your Honor. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it was wonderful to meet you as well. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Walker, I'm signing that document and you may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Ms. Jenkins, you're excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. I call cause number 510718 in the estate of Terry Lynn Riley on application of probate will and letters testamentary. Mr. Daniel Jackson, are you ready to proceed?
I'm ready, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And are you giving testimony or is your
A witness is here as well. Mr. Lane.
So does he need to be sworn in?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Mr. Lanny, how are you acquainted with Mr. Terry Lynn Riley?
Mr. Riley was a family friend.
And he died on September 30th, 2022, is that right?
That is correct.
He was 69 years of age, is that right?
That is my understanding, yes.
He died in Houston, Harris County, Texas, is that right?
Yes.
And he had a fixed place of residency in Harris County at the time of his death.
Correct.
And the will that has been filed with the court was in fact his last will and testament, is that correct?
Correct.
And you asked the court to take judicial notice of the filing of that will, is that right?
Yes.
And
The
that
court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
was dated 9/2/2020, is that right?
Correct.
And a necessity exists for the administration of the estate.
Yes.
And the will was self-proved, is that right?
That's correct.
It was never revoked by Mr. Riley, is that correct?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And I see that there was a governmental, an agency or a charity that was given some property in his will, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that is Texas Children's Hospital.
Yes.
And you're administering that correctly, is that correct?
Yes.
And after the date of the will, no children were born or adopted by him?
Correct.
And no marriage was dissolved after making the will?
Correct.
And you were named as the independent executors, right?
Yes.
And there's no necessity, you're asking the court to waive appraisers in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
That's all testimony we have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Terry Lynn Rowley dated September 2nd, 2020 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Scott Christopher Lanning was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate and Scott Christopher Lanning is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of fees, and I will sign. Thank you so much, Mr. Lanning, and I'm so sorry for your loss of your dear friend.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you. You may be excused, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I need a list of everything I need to do.
I call cause number 512630 in the estate of Donald Nord Davis Jr. on application of probated wills with letters testamentary. Ms. Klein, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. My name is Kristen Klein, and I'm personally acquainted with the following facts. The decedent, Donald Nord Davis Jr., passed away in Houston, Harris County, Texas on August 20th, 2022 at the age of 86, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death. At the time of his death, he was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County. And on August 25th, 2021, he executed a valid will in my office that we've offered here for probate. And as far as I know, this will was never revoked. I'd like to ask Your Honor to please take judicial notice of the will we've filed.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Thank you. After the time that he signed the will, Mr. Davis was never married, nor had he ever had any children. The will named his cousin Ray Nell Ward Courtney to serve as independent executrix of this estate without bond. There is a necessity for the administration of the estate, and the will did name a charity as a beneficiary under the will, that being St. Peter's United Methodist Church of Katy. I do not know of any reason why Ms. Courtney would not qualify to serve as independent executrix, and we're asking the court to admit the will to probate, waive all appraisers and bond, and issue letters testamentary to Ms. Courtney. That's all I have.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, Ms. Klein, do you know if the will specifically states service without bond?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay, sorry. I did see it now. Thank you. Ms. Klein, I will sign that document right now. And thank you so much for your time. You're excused.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
I call cause number 512782 in the estate of Diane M. Levy on application of probated will with letters testamentary. Ms.
Hi, good
Thompson.
afternoon, Your Honor.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great.
I'll be
okay,
testifying.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I swear.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Hershkowitz Hobson. I am testifying on behalf of the applicant Peter M. Levy. Diane M. Levy died on November the 5th, 2022 in Houston, Harris County, Texas at the age of 87, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of her death. The decedent was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County on the date of her death. The document dated August 21st, 2021, which I have a copy of in my possession, purports to be the decedent's last will and was never revoked as far as I know. And at this time, Your Honor, I ask that the court take judicial notice that the original is on file with the court.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file with the court. Thank you.
A necessity does exist for the administration of this estate. No child or children were born to or adopted by the decedent after making of the will, and no marriage of the decedent was dissolved after the making of the will. Additionally, the decedent's will does not name the state of Texas, any governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization as a devisee. The will named the decedent's husband, Peter M. Levy, to serve as independent executor without bond or other security. He is not disqualified by law from serving as the independent executor of the decedent's estate or from accepting letters testamentary, and he is qualified and entitled to receive letters. Based on the information we have, there's no need for the appointment of appraisers in this estate because it's not a taxable estate.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Diane M. Levy dated August 24th, 2021 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Peter M. Levy was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Peter M. Levy is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Signing the document now, and thank you so much, Ms. Coxon. Have a great afternoon, and you're excused.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.